Hello, everyone. It's James Strong. This is the SIG networking subproject Ingress NGINX. And with that, we adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct, which means be awesome to each other. If you have an issue with that, please report that to myself or the SIG networking leads. And with that, we can go ahead and get started. As you can see, I am super prepared for today. So let's go ahead and start the template and start the discussion. I know we've had a little bit of discussion in Slack. A lot of us have been preoccupied with our work, our I don't know what do we call them, our paid open source work or our paid jobs. So we need to do a little catching up today and see where we're at with things, because I know I had an offsite last week and I just have not had any chance to look at any of this stuff. So let's try to do that today. How's that sound? And Thomas, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Hopefully catch up at some point and be able to contribute.
No problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and just review our last action items and go from there, and then look at some of the triage. I caught up with a couple of issues this morning, but nothing too in depth. I did follow up with Jonto on this. He said he was going to look into it. I don't know if it got any more any further on this. I did not open up an issue for Klog. This was the upgrade, the bump, because this is bumping us to a newer version that I think doesn't. Yeah, there was a bunch of Go issues. There was a couple APIs, because I know we can't upgrade to 129 because of topology hints, I think. So there's a couple things that just need minor fixes. I think I did put an open issue in for the logging one. I should just look for myself, right? Disable snippets. No, these are all old. So I did not do that. So yeah, need to still go do that. Right there, open issue on K. 129 upgrade. There it is. Fun times. Didn't get an update from Long either. The gRPC multiple ports issue, that was the one where I still wasn't sure we could do it. So we got a couple things I need to follow up with John Talon. Marco, how did Azure look? I think I saw something. I can't remember if it was in Slack or one of the issues.
Yeah, there were like 2 or 3 of them. And so some of them turned out to be like tested with the static deploy YAMLs, they worked, and with the Helm chart they didn't, which pointed me to what others already pointed out, the failing health check, because the static files, they come with external traffic policy local. So in the end, either just setting it to local or configuring the health check annotation fixed, I think, 2 out of 3 issues. For the static files, we could split up from what we have right now. It's just a generic cloud manifest for all the cloud providers other than AWS. I think we only have a specific one for AWS, and and then put in the Azure specific annotations there. But since the static file for the cloud environment already comes with external traffic policy local, and the path doesn't matter when the health check is being handled by kubeproxy or its replacements, there's nothing to do. So the static ones already work, but they are not setting the annotation Azure would normally expect. So they are working without the annotation. And as for the Helm chart, we should not set any defaults, especially on the annotations. But we already have documentation in the Helm chart installation chapter, which also points to Azure or cloud provider specific stuff. So I think we are all set regarding static manifests, Helm chart, documentation, and it's just a bit confusing because it worked on Azure before, and now if you're just deploying the Helm chart without changing anything, you might get some trouble. But I mean, that's how the Helm chart is made. We have hints about provider-specific annotations in the README, and if one does not care about them, it might not work, and it especially doesn't work on AWS either. So it's nothing new to me, I think.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, and there was another one which I investigated a bit longer, also on AKS, but I didn't get any feedback on that. And I wrote like a lot of text and documentation in the issue and what I tried out, and that I could not reproduce the reported issue. Yeah, and up to today, I did not get any feedback on that either. It's already closed for now.
That's closed. Okay. Yeah, and there's a new one too for AWS, but that's a different one. That's not. Okay.
Yeah, it's not AKS.
Did we close? Did you get a chance to close those?
Yeah, the AKS ones are all closed. So the ones
Awesome.
we talked
Okay.
about, the ones I saw, which have been referenced, I don't know which were still open, and I spotted in the last like 4 weeks, which are kind of on the first page. I replied to them and I closed them, and yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
But
cool.
it's always a bit of the same. It's always lacking feedback. I got one feedback from someone who probably just Googled the issue, and also had the same one, and told me, okay, hey, it's working and everything is okay. So that's enough of, you don't need to change anything for now.
Okay. All right. I just put in an open issue for, I think those could come from the community, have someone create a GCP in Azure static manifests instead of adding it to our plates, because we've got other things. We've got releases and everything to maintain. So that's fine from that perspective. Okay. 110 did get, so the PR that we're waiting on did get merged. I don't know when this is going to get bumped into a new version. Oh, this was just to get it into the APK repository. So we might be okay to try to do a 110 cut. Do need to talk to Ricardo. I think we need to discuss our container strategy, because in Slack we discussed doing an NGINX build nightly, because all of our dependencies and everything, most of the CVE fixes, we have to do an NGINX update, because that's where we do a lot of the installs for everything. I'm not sure if those should get stored. Like, the discussion point was, should we do those nightlies and store them in Docker Hub so that folks can test with those, and then we just cut a release and then do a promotion? But I'm trying to get more feedback from him about his thoughts on that, because he wasn't sure. This was all in Slack DMs, by the way, but this is why I'm bringing it out to the discussion for other folks. So we do have a Docker Hub org now. We've got the open source designation. I don't know what else that comes with, but he did want to start doing like the nightlies for NGINX. So we just have to discuss how that's going to work with like cutting releases and things like that. So that's something for us to review when he's able to. He's working up P1 right now.
So we are moving away from having specific tags or versions pinned for NGINX to being based on all day builds, or on daily builds then.
For testing, yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't get stuck in this having to do this every single time. So if we have an image, we can just do the promotion. But I'm not sure how that works because usually the promotion comes from staging. We still have both. We've got both of the builds. I think he's pushing from GitHub into Docker Hub. But we still, again, we need to discuss this.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm not sure how that's gonna work. We need to think that a little bit more through.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd just like to be I'd like to have a stable basis to test on for changes. So it's already a bit hard to tell if a change is breaking the CI due to the change itself or due to some other impacts on PRs. That's already a bit hard enough. I think that should be considered.
Yeah, the other issue too is we have some of our CI runs in scripts. And there's this whole test in Docker script. It gets complicated when there's like it's Mac, Linux, and then there's GitHub versus CI. Because some things are done like scripts are written out in GitHub Actions, and some scripts are written in Bash scripts that are in the
Yeah,
help.
I saw that.
It's we need to like clarify some things.
I mean, if you're running it on GitHub, it's on Actions, for example, it's damn easy because you can just always use the architecture you want to, and you don't need to specify that. I tried being platform independent in one of the scripts for chart testing recently. Forget it. It's really hard because each and every binary has a different format on platform and architecture, and it simply doesn't work out. And you really need to do some set and translate and whatever replace stuff to get the correct URL in the end, and then it's just breaking with the next release, like not working for ARM, for example. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, no, I know. There were some differences with Docker and Matt too. It was maintaining those scripts and maintaining those bases are a nightmare, and that's definitely something we need to.
Yeah, I mean, the nightly build might be nice for all the modifications we have. So we have some kind of really continuous integration in terms of, is it still working with all we got in our script and whatsoever? And then if you're doing a release, it's not like we need to fix all the stuff which piled up since the last release. But
Yeah.
Maybe I think for CI and for testing increments, it would be nice to have a stable basis, and then nightly builds is maybe not what we should go for.
Yeah, the end-to-end test in Docker or Docker, they all build off of the NGINX base. And so we just need to write it out what we want it to be and do the diff between, So we need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it is like that, so we have the tag defined somewhere, which is which we do right now. It should be fine, but the focus should be to just have integration tests on NGINX building with all the changes we include, but not to base on this nightly build.
That reminds me too, that's something else we need to look into. That's one of the things I need to pick up. 1.9 is broken. Like the 1.9.
I saw that.
It's I can't remember if 1.9 in GitHub, the release 1.9 train works on CI. Main is fine. So I think we've just gotten ourselves into a cherry pick issue, or I don't know, because the NGINX base is different for 1.9 than it is main because of
it's 121, isn't it?
It's 121, and there was a couple other changes.
I mean, I synchronized a lot of stuff from main to release 1.9 by cherry picking, or by just copying over and doing a PR, at least for the chart stuff.
Okay.
But still, due to some recent changes in CI, like on main, for example, I remember Ricardo, I think it was Ricardo, implemented some changes. So some tests are only running if some specific stuff is being changed. And so for my recent PRs, for example, which were chart related, we did not run the whole Go controller whatsoever E2E tests.
Okay.
But since some of the E2E tests for the controller itself are also relying on the chart, I broke something and CI didn't show it.
Okay.
And so I think we might need to tune those dependencies once again a bit.
So
and then we can see.
Any Helm chart change should run end to end as well.
No, the Helm chart changes did not run the end-to-end tests.
No, that's what I'm saying, that we should do that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. And then on release 1.9, when I cherry picked it, we did not have the changes to the CI there, those optimizations. And then it showed up as, oh, it's broken, because you know what? E2E is also depending on the chart, and you kind of changed something in the chart, and now E2E is not working anymore. Plus, there are some other issues I didn't figure out yet.
I think these are all self-induced, and we need to maybe circle back to the release branch conversation. Because I think that's what's either we need to do a better job of cherry picking the changes, or we need to go back to releasing from main.
I'd go for the former, but maybe we could get some like reminder or whatsoever whenever someone is approving a PR, a little reminder, maybe written by the bot, like, hey, you have those you have those branches. Do you mind cherry picking to one of them? And so we are not missing those changes anymore. Because I think that's what broke the neck in the past, when we lost the overview and we didn't know the right order and what's depending on what. And so when you're cherry picking while you're still working on it, or while you have it on your mind, then you probably know what's depending on what.
Yeah, it was new. We did okay in 1.8, 1.9. I think we had a lot of releases. I mean, we're up to 6. We just didn't do it. We didn't do a good job. That's really all it comes down to. All of us that are approving PRs.
Yeah, and then when I started to actually cherry pick each and every PR and like actually think about it and doing it, it turned out, okay, CI is broken. So the one time you want to do it right, nope.
Yeah.
Which brings me back to I wasn't able to retest. So if something's flaky on those cherry picks, I can't retest. I think that's what you need write access for. So for those not being admins on the repository, it could be a bit hard to actually do the cherry picking. I thought about filing a PR directly to the release branch as a workaround, and because then I'm the owner of the PR again, and force push and could force push, and then it's running again. But the /retest is not working at all.
Yeah, when it doesn't work, that's unfortunate, because I do have those privileges, and I just click the rerun. I click the GitHub rerun button. I don't know how to solve that one either.
I mean, as I told, as a workaround, I could simply file the PR on my own, instead of letting the cherry pick exactly, and instead of letting the cherry pick bot do it. And then I can just either push a new commit, force push, whatever, and then GitHub is running again. Yeah, that's also a reason why I didn't proceed on the recent cherry picks to 1.9.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fun. So the next thing I was going to bring up is I think someone rightfully said, I forget which image it was. It was either webhook search gen or one of them. They were like, it's really hard to tell which one's the latest to use if you're not a contributor.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong. And we put the new tags in each of the images because that was part of the consolidation. So now all of the changes are going to be driven off those tags. So if we need to rebuild one, we just put a new tag in the image directory since we moved all of the changes, all the make files and all of that, because it's all the same. It's all the same code. We consolidated it to one, and then we just changed directories into where we need to build the image. So I'm thinking we probably need to start tagging those. Probably, I'm wondering if we tag them with the release tag. So like if we're going to do 197, we go tag all of the latest. Oh, we can't overwrite tags. That's the issue. Yeah, Kubernetes registry doesn't.
Why are you? What do you mean by overriding?
I guess it wouldn't.
You mean you can only push to latest, but if the tag already exists, you can't.
Yeah, because
actually you can do, and one did in the past, but then the digest start changing. So the tag is the same, but digest start changing. I had trouble with that in the past.
Yeah,
I think at least for the webhook. I think it was the case that they were pushed to the same tag again. I mean, ideally, you're not doing that, but
yeah, that's one of the things we need to look at is folks need to be able to, like, I know we put it in, we don't put it in the change log. It's in the Helm chart. So that's the assumption is that the latest one's in the Helm chart.
And you should be able to push to the same tag again by design.
No,
you should imagine we would run, or imagine we would offer a controller version 1.9 and which always points to the latest patch release. At least that's what Alpine, for example, is doing. They offer version tag 3, tag 390, and
you
patch
can't
level.
In the Kubernetes registry, you can't overwrite tags, even if the SHA changes.
Okay, so by design it's working on other registries, but it's not working in Kubernetes registry.
Yeah,
which is good, kind of.
It's that's why sometimes when we've had I think we had a broken release, right? You just have to roll forward. So people are like,
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So we just need to figure out.
We are also putting in digests, and so yeah.
So I'm thinking we just use the tags that are in the registry that are in there, so we can. All it is us updating what cloud build uses. So we just need to think about that. I need to add that. Images. Tags, not controller NGINX. That's just another thing we need to discuss with the group at large. So I probably need to open an issue because it's a usability problem. Okay, that's a lot of things that we need to look at and fix.
It's a lot of CI.
It's a lot of CI.
Yeah, but that's also what I did for the chart in the past 2 weeks. Whenever I had some time, I focused on getting my fingers dirty with CI, with chart CI, and I made some progress. And I also figured that we have some test values in the chart, which should be used in the CI, but they were missing a suffix and therefore didn't get pick up. So there were values all the time, but no tests running for them.
Okay. Let's do about 10-15 minutes of triage because I do want us to talk
Yeah.
about
I took a look
talk.
at this earlier.
Yeah.
So sadly it's impossible. That's the short question, because webhook configurations, they have a selector. You can set selectors for resources. So you could set a selector like ingress class equals ABC inside the webhook configuration, but that would require a user to also put those labels into the ingress class, into the ingress resources, and then one could simply bypass the whole webhook again. So normally, I think main problem is that the webhook is getting called. The ingress controller checks the ingress class, and if it's not the same, if the ingress controller is not reconciling that ingress class, he's just skipping and otherwise checking the ingress. But so from bare Kubernetes mechanics, the only way is, I think it was called object selector or something like that, which matches some labels, and that would require one to always put in specific labels into the ingress, and we can't enforce that.
No.
It's even worse. One can simply bypass the webhook and then break the whole configuration in the end. There's no direct connection between the ingress class and those labels.
That's unfortunate. How has nobody else ran into this before with?
Well, I ran into this, but it's not a problem, even in huge clusters with like 3,000 ingresses, because the controller is actually checking that. And you only get problems like, so if you have multiple ingress controllers and a lot of ingresses, from my experience, you will first get problems with the full tests, but you probably don't get any problems with one ingress controller A checking the ingress resources of ingress class B. But maybe I also misunderstood the whole issue. That's just what I got from. I think there is a context timeout or deadline exceeded, and so they are asking, they are wondering why a ingress is getting checked by a totally different ingress controller, but in their particular situation, this other ingress controller was failing, was not running.
Oh, that's not running?
I don't know. You marked the line above.
I was just looking to see, like, this one, like,
the failed calling webhook.
Oh yeah.
Can you go to the end? I think that's a context deadline or no? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't.
And they are exactly. They are wondering why their ingress is even checked by this ingress controller.
No, right there. 4368. Oh, so okay. 66. Yeah. Okay.
Just imagine you're running two controllers and one of them is down, scaled down, whatever. The admission controller is down on purpose. Okay, it's fine. Then you try to install your application. It has ingresses and they are assigned by ingress class to the ingress controller, which is actually running healthy, all fine. But anyway, since there's a webhook configuration placed by each of the controllers, even the broken one, that Ingress resource makes the API server call both of the webhooks, and because of one of them being completely down, disabled whatsoever,
It gets the first.
it's not working.
It gets the one. It gets the one that's down.
It asks both of them.
Yeah.
You normally you're chaining them. So if you have like 100 Ingress controllers,
Yeah.
and each controller takes,
The first deny was the one that's gonna
each
give it
controller takes like 1 second or 300 milliseconds, you will simply exceed the timeout because they sum up to more than 30. That's another issue.
Yeah. I'm guessing, again, I don't know how the webhook gets set up, but wouldn't we want to change that name for the webhook? Or you said because they're chained, it's not, if one of them's down, it's going to cause issues.
I'm not sure if you can do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if maybe this would even break stuff. Yeah, maybe you so to get a bit progress on this, you can assign it to me. I'll at least write down some thoughts about why it's not working, or what's and how it's working, like how Kubernetes is working on that. And yeah, about the name, I think there's already enough data in the log message about the service name, so it should be easy to differentiate the actual webhooks.
Okay. I think I'm gonna close this one unless they've given us any more. Yeah. So we made some changes in 190. I think that were breaking. But he hasn't responded to.
Is this due to the path checking, strict path checking?
Yeah, the path checking, the validation, and the validation. And I didn't see if he had any user snippets in there.
What they are complaining about is handled by the implicit. Yeah, I think they are probably skipped. That's why they are getting handled by the different one.
It's a prefix. Oh, and we have, of course. I wonder if also they're using, if this is even getting passed. I wonder if they're getting annotation validation issues. Because checking the path. So I wonder if this is even getting applied.
The strict path type, I don't know when this got introduced. You can enable it, and if your administrator enabled it, you will fail to create ingresses with prefix and regular expressions on the path, but existing ingress resources are still working, while the annotation validation, if this is enabled, and or did we enable the annotation validation or the snippet thingy? I think it was a snippet.
Yeah, snippets we disabled by default.
Exactly,
but I didn't see
and if you're having snippets inside, and the annotation validation is not activated by default, but the other value, the annotation, the snippet thingy is enabled by default. And if you have snippets inside your ingress and it's not allowed, then they are being ignored. I can't spot any
I don't
annotations in there.
Yeah. Or snippets.
And I don't see the API 1 and API 2 part they are mentioning. That's also a bit.
Yeah, I don't see that either because they should be going to slash unless he's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's definitely missing some in there because I only see slash
Exactly.
and paths.
So we need some more evidence on that about the slash API.
What is that? Wonder source files.
They could also take a look inside the logs. Normally, the controller would log if it ignored an ingress. That would explain it. About the readiness.
The readiness probe. Yeah, so this one just seems like I don't know if there was a change on the AWS side, but like we're using a version that is supported.
Yeah, proxy protocol and AWS NLB is a problem actually.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you're using an NLB and you're using the AWS load balancer controller, which is the way to go in the future.
Yeah.
The AWS load balancer controller is implementing an AWS NLB with proxy protocol on both the traffic and the health check. And so if you're then also using external traffic policy local, AWS will ask your kube-proxy using proxy protocol. And since kube-proxy is implemented with the Go net HTTP, which is not capable of a proxy protocol, it's not working anymore. But in the old load balancer controller, the entry controller did this correctly. The entry controller implemented health check without proxy protocol.
I was reading. I read on the docs that it doesn't send the client information. I don't know if it was with IP target. I think it was with IP targets. I don't know which one he's using either. Yeah, he's in IP mode.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's weird. Because it was in the AWS doc somewhere, and I was like, okay, that sounds fine. Yeah, with the AWS load balancer controller.
Yeah, because the load balancer controller is creating health checks with proxy protocol. What are they writing? There's something about an annotation about the proxy protocol annotation in the introduction.
Yeah, it's this one.
No, in the introduction.
No. Yeah.
Mm.
That's the one that tells it to enable it.
Yeah. I think main reason is the health check is done with proxy protocol.
So is that? I wonder if that's an open issue on the cloud controller. Because how would that work otherwise? Because the cloud controller, even without Ingress, would still have this issue, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, normally, I don't. That's the part where I'm not sure anymore. I don't know. Normally, the controller, the health check port, if you enable proxy protocol, the health check port should the health check ports should also use proxy protocol.
But it's also hitting.
I can actually, yeah, anyway, I can reproduce that.
Okay.
So I have access to AWS, load balancer controller, and so on. I could use their values and check what's happening.
I was just trying to think if it's the health port, like the controller wouldn't come up because we use the same ports.
What do you mean? I don't get it.
Oh, I guess that does make sense because it's in the proxy information. Sorry, I'm.
Oh wait, you're right.
Yeah, the controller.
Normally NGINX is I think NGINX is rejecting connections or is not answering. Wait, we have readiness probes. And
yeah, that's the
Kubelet
same.
is not using proxy protocol, definitely.
Yeah.
So, wait, yeah. Then the health check port should not use proxy protocol because otherwise, if the health check port would require proxy protocol,
It would never work.
Exactly, because Kubelet is not using proxy protocol. So the health check port should not, or probably does not use proxy protocol. And their setup is configured to use proxy protocol, but they don't need it. Because AWS NLB is normally already preserving the IP address.
Yeah.
There is a small pitfall for internal, but they are using internet facing. So I don't think they really need the proxy protocol at all. Same result. You can assign it to me. Think about it, running.
Yeah, that's something we need to ask them about. I think I would have this down. Okay. Well, we discussed 2 or 3 and we highlighted all of the issues that we have. I don't know what this one is. We need to get Asan to come back in and help us out with the open telemetry one. Open telemetry issues. I need a tag for them.
There's a similar.
Oh, this is the one. This is the one that's really weird that I think we need to. Is this one I've commented on? Yeah, I think we need to just close this because it's like we need to be able to create secrets. So, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I'm on call, and whenever my phone rings, I'm getting pages.
That's fine.
Do you need to go? Changing over. No, it's fine. Just go on.
I think we just need to close this one because we need to be able to update secrets and.
I think that could be done in conjunction with a cert manager. So if one decides to enable cert manager for creating the secrets and the certificates, you could drop it. But it's basically, we had a similar issue and similar issue PR in the past about when the controller is ran without update status, that you don't need the update verb for ingresses and so on. It's similar. It looks easy on the first view, but if you go into the details, I think changing the privileges, changing the access could also break stuff. I'd rather be really sensitive about that.
Yeah. All right. I think, yeah, we've got about 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the recording. Thomas, you can go ahead and hang on if you want. We're just gonna talk about our KubeCon talk that we've not discussed. That's in 3-4 weeks.
Soonish, just go to the KubeCon page. They have countdown. I think it was like 35 days.
Ugh.